At Viewpoint System, we build eye trackers. We study people's attention through their eyes. My name is Roman, and I would like to share some thoughts with you on the central topics of attention and distraction and how they connect to freedom. Let's start with attention. It describes how we focus our awareness on one thing among the infinitely many things around us. To be more precise, Wikipedia defines it as the concentration of awareness on some phenomenon to the exclusion of other stimuli. And attention is, of course, a very central topic of human experience, touching almost every aspect of life, from psychology and neurology through philosophy and spirituality to education and many more. In order to start understanding how this works, let's look at a schematic representation of our attention. There are four major parts of how we focus our attention, drawn in a schematic here from a paper by Eric Knudsen. There is the working memory, which holds my now. There's competitive selection, which is a way of balancing focus with openness. There's top-down sensitivity control, which is what am I interested in, where discipline comes in and routine also. And there are the saliency filters that keep the world or most of the world out. And in what follows, we will look at these parts separately. But first, a connection to philosophy. As far as I understand Martin Heidegger, he wrote that to be human means to be consciously aware and to worry about specific stuff. And this worrying controls and is controlled by our attention in a feedback loop that is just described on the previous slide. So the feeling of being me emerges from this attention loop. So attention is important for me. It's the core of what it means to be human. Let's go briefly over the four major components of Knudsen's schematic shown before. First, the working memory. Where is my conscious awareness? What am I looking at? My now is very short, so it's a very short-term memory that holds only 1 to 3 seconds of the now, and it is very limited in capacity. So most people cannot multitask. I cannot multitask. I can hold only one thought in my working memory. And trick magic overloads our working memory. So we realize very quickly that if there's more than one thing going on that attracts our attention, we can only attend to one of them. Working memory largely controls the gaze. When we are not paying attention to our gaze, we look at the thing that we are attending to. Hence the connection between eye tracking and attention. It's important to keep in mind here that artificial intelligence is qualitatively different and perceives the input given to it in a very different way. Humans have a working memory that is very limited in capacity, whereas if we build artificial intelligences, we can design the working memory to be very different. The next component is competitive selection. Our attention tends to wander among salient stimuli, so among interesting things to look at and to attend to. And if we want to extend the time scale of the working memory to much longer than these 1 to 3 seconds mentioned on the previous slide, we need to keep selecting the thing that we're already looking at. So every 1 or 2 or 3 seconds, we need to re-engage with the thing that we're focusing our attention on. And this is difficult. This is called the cognitive load, or this is an aspect of cognitive load. And it's difficult to stay on topic. It depends, of course, on the topic. It depends on what shape we are in. This is, for example, heavily influenced by drugs. You are certainly aware that, for example, alcohol degrades our ability to stay on topic, which is because the competitive selection is no longer aiming on the topic that we're attending to. And also, you may be aware that training is very important here. This is an aspect of our mind that we can train to focus harder, to stay longer on topic, and to extend our time scale. The third component I want to talk about is top-down sensitivity control. We can guide our attention willfully, and top-down is meant here in the sense that the top layers of our consciousness drive the lower layers of the attention circuit. We will ourselves to focus on a certain topic. Training here is very, very important. We can strengthen our ability to guide our focus through the will. Here is also where we express values. We value attention on certain topics more than other topics. And here is also where we first hit on the topic of freedom that I will talk about more later on. So slogans like discipline is freedom. If we discipline our attention, or if we guide our attention with discipline towards certain topics, we are free then to choose, according to our values, what we want to look at. We can see what happens when we don't have top-down sensitivity control when we are dreaming. In a dream, every idea distracts us. There's no guidance, and the storyline drifts rapidly around without any coherence. So in order to stay on topic, we need to have a guidance that comes from the top-down willpower. The final component of our attention schematic are the saliency filters. They allow our focus to be captured by something else if it's important enough. And when things go smoothly, they give us a bit of peace. They are very important as a survival mechanism. As an example, when a door slams, it pierces my saliency filter and it grabs my attention. Even if I'm completely immersed in attention on something else, a slamming door will grab my attention. On the other hand, a rhythmically slamming door will be filtered out. I don't hear it anymore. And this is an important aspect. I am doubly unaware of what is filtered out. So I am unaware of my unawareness. I like how Lovecraft formulated this last point. He thinks that the most merciful thing in the world is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. In our next segments, we shall look at how we get distracted from our focus and how this affects our freedom.